One of the trickiest things to get right in our musical journey is to come up with our own guitar parts. This is a concept that we tend to overthink a lot. We tend to look for more chords, more scales, more arpeggios. But honestly, what we really need is to have a basic understanding of functional and diatonic harmony. Now, let me give you a musical example on layering guitars or creating your own guitar parts, and then we will talk about it. So now first, let's talk about the difference between diatonic harmony and functional harmony. There is two questions that you should ask yourself. When you think about diatonic harmony, tell yourself what, and when you think about functional harmony, tell yourself why. So to start first, diatonic harmony, remember the question is the what, right? So this is just the chords that are built in a specific key. For example, in the key of C major, you have C major as the 1 chord, D minor as the 2 chord, E minor as the 3 chord, F major and G major as the 4 and the 5 chord, A minor as the 6th chord, and B diminished as the 7th chord. Most of the time whenever I'm building my lessons, I'm working mainly with diatonic harmony, meaning I will play any chord from a given major key, for example, the 5 chord, and then I will play the 2 and the 3 chord of the same key over the 5 chord, everything inside the 7 notes of that major scale. Now for functional harmony, remember the question, it was the why. So here we're going to see how the chords behave and relate to each other. It doesn't necessarily need to be diatonic, but we need to find a tonal center and see how the other chords of the chord progression are going to behave to our tonal center. Now you're going to see in the musical example how we're going to start first by applying diatonic harmony and then functional harmony. So whenever you're coming with your own guitar parts, the first thing you need to get right is your chord progression. If the chords work, then everything else is going to blend up really nice together. So let's start by looking at the chords first and then apply those really important concepts, right? Diatonic harmony and functional harmony. So my first chord and the tonal center is going to be C major 7. Now the second chord is actually going to tell me what key am I in, right? Because I'm going to a B minor 7. And because of diatonic harmony, I know that in the key of G major, C major 7 is the 4th chord and B minor 7 is the 3rd chord, right? I have an F sharp note here. That means that I cannot be in the key of C major. So far my tonal center is C major 7, but I'm in the key of G major. So I'm playing the 4th chord, major, to the 3rd chord, B minor 7. Then I'm gonna go to the 6th chord, E minor 9. Here, I'm using a minor 7 chord with an extension, the 9th. Then I'm gonna go to the 2 chord, A minor 7. And after this chord, I'm gonna modulate to the key of C major because I wanna make C major my home chord. I wanna feel that every time that I'm going to C major, it feels like home, right? So for that, I'm gonna change of key and use one of the most common techniques in jazz music to go home. That is to play a 2-5-1. So from A minor 7, I'm gonna modulate to the key of C major and I'm gonna go to D minor 7. Right? That's the 2 chord in the key of C major 7. Then I'm gonna go to G7, that is the 5 chord, and then I'm gonna go back to C major 7. And now it feels like I'm going back home. If I will stay diatonic to the key of G major, whenever I arrive to the G major chord, it's gonna feel like I arrive home. It's gonna feel that C major was just my chord of hanging around and being outside in the neighborhood. But as soon as I went back to G major, because we were in the key of G, it felt like I finally arrived home. I didn't want to have that feeling. I want to feel that C major 7 was my home chord. That's why I changed of key, right? I started in the key of G major, but then before going back to C major 7, I actually created a 2-5-1 in the key of C to return back to C major 7, and that felt like C major 7 was my home chord and my tonal center. Now listen to the difference between staying diatonic, meaning in the key of G major, and then modulating to the key of C major. So this will be diatonic, C major 7, B minor 7, E minor 9, A minor 7, D7, G major 7, or G major. Now, this felt like was my home chord, right? This felt like we finally arrived home. We arrived to G major, that is the 1 chord in the key of G. Now listen to the difference when I modulate in the last bar to the key of C and I play a 2-5-1 to go back to C major 7. So I got C major 7, B minor 7, E minor 9, A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, and C major 7. Now my C major 7 felt like home. So as you see here, I'm combining my two concepts, right? Diatonic harmony and functional harmony to get my chords right. So I'm starting again with C major 7, the 4th chord in the key of G, B minor 7, the 3rd chord in the key of G, E minor 9, the 6th chord, A minor 7, the 2nd chord. Now I'm modulating to the key of C and I'm playing a 2-5, D minor 7, the 2nd chord in the key of C, G7, the 5th chord in the key of C, and I'm finishing back on that C major 7 chord. And this chord feels like home, and this chord is my tonal center. Now let's expand our diatonic harmony knowledge a little bit more by using this concept that I've been teaching you in my past lessons called upper structure triads. Now we're playing with 7th chords here. This means that we have 4-note chords, and sometimes even 5-note chords because I'm using some extensions like E minor 9. Now the idea is going to be to try first to find those triads inside the 7th chords, and then we want to talk about creating a new guitar part. So let's first get into the theory part. So let's start with C major 7. Here I have two triads. I have C major, of course, starting from the root of the chord, and I have E minor, starting from the major 3rd of the chord. So C major plus E minor is going to give me a C major 7 chord. So my next chord is going to be B minor 7, and again I have two triads here, B minor, and I'm going to have D major. So the combination between B minor and D major is going to give me B minor 7. Now next chord, E minor 9. Here we're going to have more options because we have a 5-note chord. Even though I'm just playing 4 notes because I don't have more fingers, this chord has 5 notes: the root, the minor 3rd, the 5th, the flat 7, and the 9. This means that we're going to have 3 triads inside the chord. We're going to have E minor, starting from the root. We're going to have G major, starting from the minor 3rd, and we're going to have B minor, starting from the 5th. So we have E minor, G major, B minor. If you play those 3 triads, you're going to have 5 notes. Those 5 notes are going to give you the E minor 9 chord. Next chord, A minor 7. I'm playing this cool voicing. Here again, we have 2 triads. We have A minor and we have C major. So A minor plus C major is going to give me an A minor 7. Next chord is going to be D minor 7. And again, I'm going to have 2 triads here. D minor plus F major. So D minor plus F major, D minor 7. Next chord, G7. Again, 2 triads. I have G major and I have B diminished, right? That's the 5th chord and the 7th chord of any given major key. So if I combine, in this case, G major and B diminished, I'm going to have a G7 chord. And I'm back on C major 7. So now with this concept, I created this guitar part. So now C major 7, I'm starting by playing this. Right, I'm here, what I have is just a nice C major 7 inversion, right? I have a C major triad here on strings 2, 3, and 4, and I have that B note on the 7th fret of the high string. That's the major 7 of C major, right? Now, if you want to look for those 2 hidden triads, here I have the C major triad, right? And here what I have is actually an E minor spread triad, right? Here I have the closed triad, strings 2, 3, and 4, first inversion E minor. I'm bringing that B note on the 4th fret of the G string, an octave higher. So now I'm going to have strings 4, 2, and 1, E minor spread triad. So here I have those 2 triads again, C major, closed triad, of course, strings 2, 3, and 4, second inversion, and E minor, first inversion spread triad. Now, probably you have heard this before, but in case you haven't, there is a nice way to approach improvisation with minor pentatonic shapes inside the major scale that is really cool. Remember, a major scale has 3 minor chords, right? In the key of G major, A minor is the 2 chord, B minor is the 3 chord, and E minor is the 6th chord. Now, if you start the G major scale from the 2nd note, A, you're gonna have a mode that is called the Dorian mode. If you started from B, you're gonna have another mode that is called the Phrygian mode. And if you started from E, you're gonna have another mode that is called the minor scale or the Aeolian mode. Each one of these modes has 7 notes, right? If you take 2 notes away, you're gonna end up with our classic first position pentatonic shape for each one of these notes. Meaning all those notes that I'm playing are the 7 notes of the key of G major. So again, this is another diatonic harmony concept, right? This is mainly applied for us guitar players. This means that when I was playing over C major 7, I was doing this, and then I was playing this line, right? Before even playing the line, in my mind, I knew that I have a minor pentatonic box here that I can use. I know that these 5 notes that I'm playing are 5 of the notes inside the G major scale. So again, I was just playing the C major 7 chord with the hammer on and kind of running a little bit the G major scale, but inside this A minor first position pentatonic box. And from here, I'm gonna go to this B minor 7 chord again. Another nice minor 7 voicing, right? And again, here, if you want to look for those triads, you're going to find them. You're going to have a B minor triad here, strings 2, 3, and 4. Second inversion. And then you have this D major spread triad, right? The closed triad is this one. First inversion. I got the 3rd, the 5th, and the root. Now, if I bring that A note an octave higher, I'm going to have this one. That's a D major spread triad first inversion, right? These 3 notes actually belong to the chord that I'm playing. The chord that I'm playing is this one. So here I have the B minor, closed triad, D major, spread triad. So I have the C major chord, this bar, B minor, and now before going to E minor 9, I'm just gonna play a G major triad on the 4th beat of that bar. So it's gonna be like 1, 2, 3. Now the E minor 7 chord is sounding, but I'm going to a B minor triad. So I'm gonna have this sound over here, right? Remember, E minor 9 is a 5-note chord, so I have 3 triads inside this chord. I have E minor, I have G major, and I have B minor, right? If I play this B minor over E, I'm gonna have the root, 5th, the flat 7, and the 9. That's the sound that I want. I want the 9th in my guitar part, right? So I'm actually gonna go to this B minor triad, right? Again, if I play it over E, I'm gonna have the 5th, the flat 7, and 9. Next chord is gonna be A minor 7. Here I'm gonna keep it really simple. I'm just gonna go to this first inversion, A minor triad on the top 3 strings. Now from here, I'm gonna have a D minor 7 chord. And here is where that functional harmony applies, right? We're modulating to the key of C major, right? So I'm gonna have D minor 7, right? And remember, D minor 7 has 2 triads, has D minor and has F major. So what I'm doing is actually playing an F major, strings 1, 2, and 3, second inversion. Again over D, D minor 7, right? So I'm going from A minor 7, and I'm playing this A minor first inversion triad, to D minor 7, and I'm going to this F major, right? Second inversion triad. And then I'm gonna have a G7, right? And remember, G7 has 2 triads too, has a G major and B diminished. So here I'm gonna go to this B diminished. Strings 1, 2, and 3, again over G, G7. Really slow, I have this C major 7, I'm playing this. So now for the second repetition, I'm gonna go higher on the neck. I'm gonna start by sliding from a half step below to this E minor triad. First inversion, strings 1, 2, and 3. Again, we're playing over C, so if I put my bass over C, I have the sound of C major 7. But all I need is the E minor triad here, that's it, and I have the sound of C major 7. Then I'm just gonna play some notes of the scale. Right? G major scale. So over C major 7, I have this. And here comes B minor 7, and I'm gonna go to a D major triad, right? Remember, D major over B, B B minor 7. So I'm just playing the D major triad here, right? And then I'm just going to play some double stops again around the notes from the key of G major, right? And here comes the E minor 9. Remember, E minor 9 has 3 triads, has E minor, G major, and B minor. So again, I'm going to use this B minor triad, but somewhere else on the neck, here, strings 1, 2, and 3, right? So this sound over E is giving me the sound of the E minor 9, right? So I have so far this. Now we have A minor 7, so I'm going to go to this C major triad. Remember, C major over A minor 7, then I'm going to have D minor 7, and I'm going to go to this F major triad. Remember, F major over D, D minor 7, and to finish G7, I'm going to go to this triad. B diminished, right? And again, B diminished over G, G7. So for that second repetition, I have this. Now for my last chord, I'm finishing on an E minor triad, right? Because again, E minor, in this case, root position over C, it's gonna give me the sound of C major 7. Now there's a third guitar on the back that is gluing everything together. It's just a guitar playing a single note line, and mainly I'm playing 2 notes, E and D. And eventually you're gonna see one time that I'm playing an open G, more rhythmically to go back to that D note. So that part sounds something like this. Now, another great practice exercise is to try to relate these notes to the chords that you're playing. Now I'm going to bring those 2 notes on the G string to the B string. 5th fret, E note, 3rd fret, D note, right? Over C major, I'm going to have a C major 7, and I'm going to have a C major 9. Over B, I'm going to have a B minor 11, and a B minor 7 with a minor 3rd on the melody. Over E, I'm going to have an E minor triad, with the E on the melody, and I'm going to have a E minor 7 with that D on the melody. Over A minor, I'm going to have an A minor 7. Here you have that E. And a whole step down is going to be A minor 11. Over D, I'm going to have a D minor 9 with the E on the melody, and I'm going to have a D minor 7 with the root, the D on the melody. And for G7, I'm going to have a G13, and I'm going to have a G7. Back to C major 7. Now, if we put those 3 guitars together, at the end, I'm going to have this. Alright guys, I hope you find that lesson useful. See you next time. Bye bye.